Before we drop in, I want to introduce today's guest, Christine Hoekzema. Christine is a level 2 quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Her work, rooted in the teachings of Dolores Cannon, guides people through gentle past life regression to receive insight from their higher self. I first worked with Christine a few years ago, and the session changed how I relate to purpose, grief, and timing. In this conversation, we talk about the space between lives, how guidance shows up when we're ready, and why the message is almost always you're loved, you're safe, keep going. Just a quick note, we do touch on death and loss, but with tenderness. If that's present for you, take what serves and pause as needed. Stay to the end for how to book with Christine if you're local, and for a few of our favorite Dolores Cannon reads. All right, let's begin. Welcome to Wander and Weave, where awakening meets embodiment. I am Brooke Buchanan, soul embodiment and energetic alignment guide, and someone who's wandered through the messy middle of life in search of meaning and truth. This is a space where realizations become real life shifts, where truth isn't just spoken, it's lived, where you don't just wake up, you come home to yourself fully. Each episode invites you into honest stories, soft perspective shifts, and sacred questions that help you remember who you are and live like it. Let's get into it. All right, I am here with Christine Hoekzema. I always want to slaughter your name, but I'm glad that I pronounced it right correctly. Yeah.
Yes, you
Um,
did. Beautiful.
so I know Christine from a few years ago in my own spiritual journey and exploration and had a QHHT session with her. But before we kind of really dive into what that is, Christine, if you don't mind kind of introducing yourself a little bit of who you are, what you do, and then we can kind of dive into that.
Sounds good. My name is Christine Hoekzema. I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I've been doing quantum healing hypnosis technique, which was developed by Dolores Cannon, about 4 years. So 2021, if that was, yeah, I started in 2021. So I've been doing it for 4 years, and it's basically past life regression or past life hypnotherapy where you travel to wherever your higher self wants you to go, and it gives you little stories to help you in your current life that you're living right now.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that part-time, but it has been a wonderful experience. I've learned so much, and I've also learned that we are definitely loved, protected, guided on a daily basis, no matter what. Even if things are going sideways, going south, you always, always have somebody looking out for you, watching you, and loving on you every step of the way. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder because I think as we were talking just a little prior before this episode started, is just how much life can really happen. And it's not so much a test, but it's more so to give us maybe some strength in making
hmm
sure we are correcting our souls and going through these pop quizzes and these lessons and making
yes.
sure we know our stuff. So before, or like, what got you into doing the quantum healing hypnosis?
Yeah. So, really interesting. So, I have always been fascinated with, I don't know, it sounds very bleak, but like death, where we go next, why are we here? I feel like I don't belong here. I feel like everybody else knows what they're doing, and I'm just like, what is happening?
Yep.
Why do I not feel called to do anything? But um, so I have over the course of my life, like delved into like past, not really past life stuff until about 5 years ago, but near death experiences and things like that, like ghost stuff. And then I came across Dolores Cannon, and she was talking about the life between lives. So when you pass away, what that space looked like. And I heard that and it was like a trigger or a light bulb. Something happened in my brain where I'm like, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. This is like the missing piece to the puzzle. And I immediately bought all of her books. And within, I think, the first book, I'm like, this is what I need to do. This is absolutely, I need to be doing this. I need to be a practitioner. So, and it was very weird because in my real life, it's like Superman. I am
Yeah.
an accountant and I have worked with numbers for a long, long time. And when I was like, how am I going to tell my family? How am I going to tell my friends that this is what I want to do? Like, it was just so bizarre that I was called to do something like this. So I just felt like it was a universe thing. Like, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to figure out a way to tell your family that you're doing this.
Yeah.
And I did. And I had a lot of friends who were like, okay, you're weird now. And, but that's kind of what the universe does, doesn't it? It forces you into
Yeah.
certain situations. If you need to make a change or if you want to if they are calling you to do something, then you really don't have much of a choice. So
No.
I was plopped into the classes. I made it through my internship, and now I've been doing it for 4 years, and it's been wonderful. So I don't know if that answers your question, and I just
Yeah.
lathered on, but that's a little
Absolutely.
bit about how that happened. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a privilege. It's been an absolute privilege to, I feel like I call myself like a hitchhiker. Dolores Cannon used to call herself a reporter. We're
Yeah.
just we're just guiding people, asking questions,
Yeah.
and helping people look at things differently in their lives.
Yeah, I love that, the hitchhiker, because essentially, I mean, when I had my session with you, right? Like, we went through some multiple lifetimes where some of them were very boring, not human Earth lives. I
Right?
mean, were they boring? Maybe not, but
No,
through
yeah,
the exploration, I mean, some of it is kind of like, okay, I'm like in a black nothing, like just standing here. Like I could have been a tree for all I knew. But
right?
then it's like when you get into the actual life explorations or the past lives, it's like, oh yeah, you are really going for a hitchhiking ride on someone else's life's journey and really
Mhm.
understanding and exploring. You don't know where you're going, but you're going on an adventure, and that's what
That's
hitchhiking to me is. That's a beautiful,
exactly what it is. And it's just
yeah,
fascinating because visually they're seeing what like you're seeing in your session. You saw everything in a certain way. And I'm also visualizing a completely different story. But it is fascinating to me how every client comes in and has things shown to them that I find to be so profound
yeah.
and astute. Like I am just fascinated. So I think it's amazing.
So going kind of back about Dolores Cannon, for those
Mhm.
who are listening who might not know who Dolores Cannon is, I know who
Yeah.
she is because that's how I found you.
Yes.
Do you remember how, or like when she first kind of came into your world, or what was maybe going on in your world when you came
Yes.
across her work?
Yep. So my dad was in the end stages of colon cancer.
Okay.
He had, he had stage 4 cancer, beat it, and it came back. So I was in the throes of this. I'm gonna lose my dad. And I had lost my mom previously, 12 years before, and understanding that they were still with me. My mom was still with me, but it was just a different way of being with me.
Right.
So I was just really, trying to figure this out and also wanting my dad's transition to be as smooth and beautiful as it possibly could be. And I'm sure, on TikTok scrolling like we all do. and
Yeah.
Dolores Cannon came up, and I'm like, this is it. This is what I need right now. Because it was the transition and that space that we go in between this life and wherever we go next.
Yeah.
Um, so I read that book, and it did help me in understanding, where my dad was in his space. And it was so interesting because when a person is passing, their energy is everywhere. I would be in a conversation with my sisters far away. And my dad knew when we came, he's like, "What are you talking about? Da da da." I'm like, You were not even there."
Yeah.
But as our souls are not tethered, they are tethered until we pass, but they can go wherever. And it was a beautiful thing to have this information Dolores provided me and experience things that my dad was experiencing, visits, and um, he was just actively greeting people, and to just be there and be present and just to also enjoy it. And I mean, it sounds like kind of a strange thing to celebrate a death, but
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful space to be in. And I feel like if people just sat in it for a little bit and are curious about where where we're going next, or it's not even about where we're going next, but celebrating the person that you have been to me, like my dad, like celebrating the person that he has been to me, celebrating what we are as a family, what we created in this lifetime together. Like that's what we came here to do.
Yeah.
And that was his closing page. So just to look at it that way. So then, my dad passed away. I thought it was a beautiful thing for all of us. And I immediately am like, I'm doing the training. I'm doing QHHT. This is it. So,
Yeah.
um,
Was that the book? I want to just at least touch on it. It was
yes,
the Between Life and Death.
yes,
That the book?
or is it between, I'm looking at my bookshelves, like, I
Yeah.
think between death and life,
Okay. Yeah.
called by Dolores
Okay.
Cannon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also a little bit about, I just, a little bit about Dolores Cannon. So she did hypnosis with her husband. So her husband did hypnotherapy in the army
Yeah.
for the United States military, and she would go along on the sessions. And one day they stumbled upon a woman who came in for anxiety, depression, and she went to a past life.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit, a little tidbit about how she discovered this. And then it just cannonballed into not only past lives, but you know, UFOs and aliens and all of the good
Yeah.
old woo stuff.
All the woo-woo that is like maybe almost dramatized on TV. It's like she really grounds her work to be like, this is what I've discovered. And like in the reporter of her, she just kind of kept going. And it's like before she did this work, she had nothing to do with like hypnosis.
No.
And her husband, of what I remember was like they traveled around the world though, doing a lot of the army type stuff.
Yes.
So she was kind of like she just had that time to then lean in and learn more about it, right?
Right. And she was raising a bunch of all her kids.
Yeah.
And I think she hypnotized all her kids. She's like, hey, you guys are all coming along with me. And now Julia, her daughter, um, runs her QHHT classes. And it's just a really cool and wonderful, wonderful organization. I'm just
Yeah.
love it.
And her work, I mean, for me, because that was the one book that I read two of her books. When I actually didn't read them, I listened to them on
Yeah.
Audible because her books are really long and in depth, I think. But to me, it was like I couldn't stop listening. So I had to set like a reminder to like listen, integrate a little bit, listen some more. What I learned too, was that death transition, or even when we go into life, that there's that maybe 7 years, or even when we're closer to death, it's like the veil starts getting thinner. So when you were talking about your dad's energy kind of being everywhere, it's like we're starting to almost get pulled into being everywhere and we're
Yes.
not fully in our human body, or we can see a lot, they can see a lot more. I think about when my grandpa passed, when
Yeah.
I was with him and he was, you know, had all these random stories coming up and you're like, where is this coming from? But I was grateful to already have done my sessions with you and knew Dolores Cannon's work to understand that death isn't such a horrible thing that we think it is, that actually we get to celebrate someone's life, the journey here, but we also get to send them home. I think
Yes.
we forget that Earth really isn't our home. And I can relate to you where it was like, I don't feel like I belong here. Like, humans look so weird. Like to me, sometimes I'm like, why are we so weird looking? And then
Yes.
realizing like, oh, I get to love my meat suit. Like I
Yeah.
joke around and I'm like, this is my meat suit. Like I get to walk around. This is my home temporarily. So
Mhm.
I get to love it now. But when those pass, it's like we get to send them away to their actual home where that love and joy and the light is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the vision is so much broader, and the whole portion of the life, and how the part you played like a play. Like that was my part. I knocked it out of the park, you
Uh,
know, and now I can maybe give some assistance to the players who are still on stage,
yeah.
or,
Oh my gosh.
give
That's
them
such a
encouragement and love.
beautiful. Yeah, I think that's where you get to be that guide in helping someone understand. I mean, when I came to you, I don't even know really what my full intention was, but I was like, I knew I needed to explore this journey. But I think it helped me understand a little bit more of my purpose because I know I'm here to do some things that I mean, I can't wrap my head around, but I feel it deep in my bones. So it's like starting that journey and following those breadcrumbs. But not only that, is that you get to help those who are going through anxiety or depression, or maybe kind of connect the dots, would you
Yes.
say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so easy. You talk about depression and anxiety, and it's so easy to get caught up in this life. I mean, it still happens to everybody. It happens to me where I'm like, I can't take it anymore.
We're
But then
human.
but then that reminder of that, you know, I am safe. I am protected. I am safe. I am protected. And everything always works out. Always. It always does. I've made it this far, and I will continue continue to make it. And you talk about the past lives and showing you also, like, man, that was a rough one that I went through, or whatever
Yeah,
catastrophic thing happened, or um like I did that before. I definitely can make it through whatever situation I'm going through right now.
absolutely. And when it comes to the QHHT hypnosis sessions, right? Like it's the matter of your higher self is kind of showing you your past lives or taking you on this journey through a past life. But from my understanding too, it's like you'll be shown what you need to be shown or walked through,
Yes.
that you are at a capacity to hold that whatever it might be. So when
Yes.
I went through that session with you, it was like, oh, this is somewhat traumatic. And what I was telling you prior, it was okay, it was a little bit traumatic during that time of me processing everything, but I think I was going through a lot of turmoil in my life too, of trying to better understand, like, I just don't know. And then
Mhm.
realizing as, you know, a few years has passed, or I think it's been 2 years, that it's still so deeply ingrained because it's such a past life of a memory now that I can't just like forget.
Right.
I look
That you went through this.
yeah, I went through it and I lived it like I was there. It was just such a weird experience, but so beautiful too is that I look back and realize like, okay, I was so focused maybe on this traumatic side of things, but when I look at the overall theme of one of the past lives we explored, it was like, oh, this is like a theme that I get to kind of live through now. And understanding too, sometimes our lives go through similar lives or similar themes because
Mm,
our soul is here to do certain purposes and
yeah,
learn certain things. But sometimes it takes a little time to navigate it.
right. I mean, a purpose takes a lifetime. A lesson can take a lifetime.
Yeah,
And, you know, when you're going through that traumatic experience, we lead you to the very last day of your life. It does feel like a glimmer, like, okay, yep, that was my lesson. Man, I feel good about it. And um yeah, I think that that's it too, is understanding like in this space when you're middle, young, like how have I not figured out my purpose yet? Or how have I not accomplished it? Or what even is it?
yeah,
Those are the things that we're here to learn.
yeah,
Um, and every session, I feel like the higher self is so gentle and loving and saying, you are doing it. Maybe you don't always listen to me, but you hear me and you're doing it, and I love you.
yeah,
So it's again, it's just a really powerful thing. And over the course of all the sessions, I think that that is the most important thing for your listeners to know is that every single person is loved and guided, which I said earlier, but I don't think you coming into my session room and me seeing session after session after session and hearing the same
yeah.
thing is just truly profound and wonderful and affirming.
If someone's interested or they're like, oh, QHHT or, hypnosis, like, what are like common reasons that those who come to you, like, what are they coming to you for? Why would someone get this session or this type of hypnosis technique done?
A lot of people have come to me because of anxiety, or I like it, or they're at a springboard, like they're at the diving board and at their stage in life. Like I am on the diving board and I don't know what to do next. And I need some guidance and I need some help on what are my next steps. And typically that's the most often somebody's coming to see me.
Yeah,
Um, they're at that, they're feeling called and compelled to do something and they just want that. I mean, I think that again, the higher self is already telling you they're pushing you to a QHHT session to like nail that in the head. Like, this is it. Yes, absolutely. And I'm gonna do it.
yeah,
And I think all sessions are recorded, but I think like you said too, we are in a state of consciousness way different than when Dolores started these sessions. I
yeah,
cannot believe that she did this in the 80s and 90s and the response she got. I mean,
yeah,
we are at a higher level and able to talk about things way more openly than I feel like we did at that time.
absolutely.
And I think that our level of understanding is higher, that the recordings are important and helpful, but you also walk out of it and you're like, I have the message. I've got what I need.
Yeah,
And that's not to discount the recording. I think it's very important, but I think that we also have a level of understanding when we leave, like, yep, that's
yeah.
that was it. That's what I needed.
Yeah. I mean, and I still have that recording saved, like tucked away, where
Mhm.
it was like I was laying in bed last night, like I should listen to that. And realizing like it's been a couple years and it's still so ingrained into me, but realizing like I get this opportunity of, I think sometimes too, we're going through society like needing this instant gratification. And like you said too, when you're like, I'm in my 30s, right? Where a lot of people my age are like, I need to have everything figured out right now. And it's like, no, actually, I'm like still a baby when it
Yes.
comes to my whole life of like, if I live till I'm 100, I have 70 more some years.
Yep. Yep.
to go where it's like I'm just getting started in my life and navigating that. But I think what you said too, it's like it can take a lifetime to go through lessons or one lesson. Sometimes it takes multiple lifetimes, is what
Yes.
I've learned too.
Yes.
And realizing, like, yeah, like it's just wild to know what the work that you do and me getting to experience it that, yeah, looking back, in the 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s, like to know what was going on in the world and
Mm.
that it was definitely like a taboo thing where this is
Yes.
going to be, it's more of a common healing practice, is what I would call it.
Yeah.
Journey. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Um, I'm amazed that she had, I mean, again, I just think it's amazing. It's really cool. That I had never heard of her, that I had been, it's like I had been seeking this information out, but I was given it at exactly the right time. I think that's
Right.
another thing for everybody. Dolores always says this thing, which I think is true, is that every person is at a different stage in their learning and you cannot advance. There's just no way. You can't, just like you don't feed it steak to a baby,
Mhm.
that information, that knowledge that the universe has out there, you're going to get at just the right time that you need it for you and your journey.
And that it's almost like someone needs to be open to receiving that next level of
Mhm.
information because we can't force someone to move forward even though it might be the next best step for them with that information. If they don't want to go, then they have to go themselves. I think that's where that higher self kind of likes to pull and nudge and give the breadcrumbs or give sometimes the hard lessons or like the
Yes.
huge shake up to life. Like, okay, go live and
Yes.
stop living in this 9 to 5. I only have to do this and I have to pay my bills and I have to do this. It's like, but we also came here to like be present in our bodies and know our
Mhm.
energy in our body and being able to listen to the birds or like appreciate other things to life outside of just what we get anxiety or depressed about and navigate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that that's another thing that gets lost easily and quickly in the hustle and the grind and the everyday going, going, going until finally people retire and how many times do you hear a person retire and immediately get sick because they
Yeah.
have not been paying attention
Yeah.
to their body and their energy and what is important for
Yeah.
them and their life, you know?
Yeah. I think too, there's another book by Dolores Cannon that I read was The Three Waves.
Mm,
I think I don't know the full title of it, but that's like the gist of it, where
yes.
there are these different generational waves of humans here to help bring the consciousness up a little higher each time. And I look at my parents and see how like my dad worked and I get to see his lessons coming through his life, but I
Mhm.
know that I can't tell him what his lessons are.
Right,
And I get to have that discernment and allow him to figure it out because also if he doesn't ask for help or doesn't want to come to me for, "Hey, what are my lessons?" then if I went to go tell him, he's not going to listen. But
right.
understanding that wave of the waves of consciousness too and how, from the 80s, 90s to like now in 2025 where we can talk about this a little more freely. It's
Yes.
it's yeah, it's wild how the consciousness goes. And then I do have a question for you too. And like, what do you feel is the most rewarding part of your work, but also what's challenging about your work?
The most rewarding thing, I think, is when people get answers to their questions and they come in with a list of questions or a list of um, feeling a certain type of way about the life that they're living right now. And at the end of the session, the most rewarding thing is like, I feel so much better. Like, I feel so much better than when I walked in.
Yeah.
Or that was really helpful. So I just I love that piece. I also love hearing people's stories. I love hearing people's it's their plays, their movies. I thank you for, that's a huge thing for you to share your story with me, and I am so grateful and appreciate it, and I love to hear it.
Yeah.
Um, I think the most, and I can't think of the most challenging thing for me would be if somebody is not willing to take responsibility for their story
Yeah.
or take responsibility for what they're seeing. And that does not happen that often, but certain times that's the case, and that's challenging
Yeah.
to bring it around to say, at the end of the day, we are with ourselves. It's it's me on this journey. My soul chose this bag of flesh and bone, and it is my responsibility to do exactly what I promised myself I would do when I got here. So, um, and a lot of people, that's intense. That's an intense thing to be with oneself
Yeah.
and not love it the way our soul does.
Yeah, it's such an intimate experience, but it can be very scary. I've noticed a theme for me this past week, especially, is having strength and vulnerability. We're all
Mm.
really good at being strong or even putting up an armor and protecting ourselves and hiding that vulnerability. But how can you do both? And in that middle, it is almost taking responsibility too, and, being able to say, I get to be intimate with myself. I can be vulnerable and share past lives in the movies with you and
Yeah.
be strong and know, okay, I know what is the next best step to move forward. And it might not be an instant action. What I've learned, with what I experienced in my past life, it was more so an overall theme for my life right now, too, that I get to breathe a little bit more and trust that I'm on my journey and it's not happening overnight and that instant gratification, but I do have the rest of my life to do the best I can and take the next best step forward
Mhm.
with it.
Yes, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. And gosh, I had another question and I lost it, so it'll come to mind.
Well, I was going to ask if you could remind me your past life and the
Yeah.
experience, like what that story was, what your movie was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was living, I mean, part of it, it's the where, not so much. I can't totally tell, but I feel like I was living in like Scotland or Ireland, like very green, earthy, just beautiful nature in like a castle.
Yes.
So that's where my life started though. I had to have been like a younger adult, teenager maybe. And next thing I knew, I remember sitting at a really heavy wooden table, like a beautiful, just in like there were beautiful shelves, like everything was just very beautiful.
Right.
And next thing I knew, I was like on my way to like this ball or something. Like I was dressed up in a carriage ride. So it was a few centuries
You
ago, if anything. And
and
I
I think I remember you feeling, were you excited? Like feeling,
I think I was ready. I think I was excited, but I just remember the next thing was like, okay, the carriage was attacked and some things went south. And that's where I realized like most of my life, it was kind of like that Me Too movement, but in this
mhm.
lifetime I didn't fully experience it, but it was from this past life that I experienced that Me Too of, oh, okay. And I had that understanding that it was almost like my parents in that lifetime set up this attack, or
Yes.
that was what I took on and blamed it on them. But now I
Yes.
look back and it was like maybe it wasn't them, but I blamed them for it. And next thing I knew, it was like I packed up all of my things and left, and I just kept going on this
You
journey.
left your beautiful home with all of the beautiful things.
I left the beautiful castle, like, it was like I was this princess and I left, like, the runaway bride of, like, "Okay, let's go." And I stumbled across this small town, and I remember meeting this older man who was like their, I guess maybe the doctor is what you'd call it in those days of like an herbalist. And I ended
Yeah.
up being more so working under him because that was something I was very interested and knowledgeable in. I think part of that lifetime too, I was very intelligent, very smart. And in that time, though, it was like women weren't supposed to be smart. Like you had
Mhm.
to get married and have babies. So when I found, this older gentleman to mentor me and teach me everything he knew, I almost was almost doing his work and he was observing. But in that time, I couldn't have my own business. So I was working kind of with him. And I thought that was very interesting that I got to be that healer and the guide for other people, but I had to have a mask on. And I see it in this lifetime where I almost want to do the work, but I still want to have that mask on and not be the face of everyone.
Right.
And then it was in that time when I was doing that work and, working in like an apothecary is what I would call it, but
Yes.
dungeon vibes, I guess. I
Yes.
don't know. Like
Love it.
cement slabs or whatever. It was kind of when I kept to myself. I was quiet because I think where I came from, I was very vocal, but it was not, you know, received well. So I just was like, okay, let me just do my work. I'll keep to myself. And there was this guy who started showing up who knew the mentor I worked under. And he was super chatty and really, you could tell he was into me, but I was just like, no, let me just do my work. Like I'm here. And it's like,
This is my
sure
focus.
enough. Yeah. And sure enough, it was like, I we started having more conversations and then we started getting romantically involved and then we got married and had kids. And like by the end of that lifetime, it was just such a peaceful life. But realizing, in this lifetime, I get to take from that lifetime was I get to focus on my work, but I also get to be receptive
Mm,
and trust that the right person will come to me at the right time and that it'll click over that time. But also realizing, like I said, that mask of in that past life, I was very wanting to be more spoken, and I can tell in this lifetime, I want to almost hermit like a crab and,
yeah.
like not bother anyone and not be seen. But that's that lesson I'm learning in this lifetime is to be seen, is to be heard, and to really show up and help people. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of that overarching theme.
Little push, like a
Yeah.
little push. Like you can do it. You've done it before and you can do it again.
Yeah. And I think from learning even in that life, right, it's like there's some traumatic things, but it doesn't mean it's gonna stick with you forever because you can have bad things happen, but it gives you the strength to move forward. In learning that lifetime, it's allowed me to move a little more forward, but I'm also human. Like,
Yes.
I go through these phases where I don't want to show up on social media, or I feel like I'm annoying people, or I don't want to come off salesy. And it's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I noticed, like, before our session, it was like, I just wasn't sure with my romantic life of like, there was a guy in my life that I was like, I think we have this connection. And it was almost like when I met this guy years before our sessions, right? It was like I opened the door and I first met him. I was like, oh my gosh, I know him. Like it was
Mm.
such a weird, like, and I remember coming to you and being like, telling you the story about this guy. And it was like, I don't know though. And it wasn't really fully addressed of like in our sessions, like, was that him? But in the visuals that I had, it was like, no, it was him. Like,
Mm.
it was his energy and acknowledging too. I think I've learned that he might not be my significant other in this lifetime,
Right.
but he's played his role of, we met and we had our connections in this lifetime, but also too, maybe it just wasn't the timing. Like I've
Right.
learned that sometimes you can have the right person at the wrong timing. So
Yeah.
allowing that to unfold is, I think, fun to realize like I don't have any control over this, but I get to
I
focus on my work.
Pressure is off. I
Yeah.
feel like that's one thing. Like the pressure is off because the universe will push, guide, give at exactly the right time for when
Yeah.
you need it. And when we rush things or try to create our own agendas, they can go off the rails in a
Gosh.
disastrously awful way.
And I think we both have lived that of
Yes.
just knowing too, like Dolores Cannon found me. I don't remember exactly how. I want to say it was, I hurt my back when I lived in Grand Rapids and saw a physical therapist. But his work wasn't your typical physical therapy. I mean, he did a lot of somatic stuff too, and that's where he was like, "I think you're a star seed." And I was like, "A what?" And then I think it might have been him who talked about Dolores Cannon in like probably, and then it was like since then it's like that's when my work in Grand Rapids when I lived there, it was just like so beautiful, but at the same time, like you said, it doesn't have to happen overnight and that there are little nudges and breadcrumbs, but we can't force it on just I've tried to like hurry things along and realizing like I can't jump levels. I have to go through certain lessons to heal the cracks within my vessel or I always think of like our vessels are what holds our soul, right? Or whatever it might be has cracks in it like a vase and we have to
Yeah.
kind of mend them and also add some gold to it and make it pretty
Yes.
in our own way to then allow more light in to hold in more to bring in more but or what's
Absolutely.
in alignment I guess and
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we all want that shortcut. We all want that cheat code to get through it, right? And we've just got to go through it.
Yeah, and I
If
think
you use the
too
cheat code, you don't learn either. Like with each of those tough things, like I think of, yeah, your carriage was attacked. It was awful. It was an awful experience, but it propelled you into a life that, like you said, was so peaceful and so beautiful and so full of knowledge.
yeah,
I mean, that would never have happened.
no, and having that experience I mean it led me to even this lifetime to understand what happened then, to be able to process being like, "Okay, how can I almost be opposite of
Yeah.
like was conditioned to not speak up and now I'm being, my purpose here, part of it is to feel more comfortable and speak up." I mean, into astrology, some of the work that I do, I look at that as like my north node, which is kind of the purpose or direction you're supposed to go towards. It's
Mhm.
in Capricorn, which is like building structure, but it's in the third house, which rules communication. So
Mhm.
that's where it's like really standing tall and building my communication and owning that. I mean, that's like the most basic way I could put it. It goes into deeper layers, but realizing
Yeah.
like, I was a good nurturer, but now I have to get back to being like my stubborn goat of me and own what I say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah. So I think that's where yeah, the journey it was so interesting going on it. I'm curious too, like for those of who's never been hypnotized, like what can they expect, going into a session with you? Like what does that process look like?
Right. So a typical QHHT session with me lasts about 5 to 6 hours. Seems like that's intense, but we want to have a lot of time to talk about your story that you've been living right now. And I want to hear all about your family, your jobs, what you love to do, your friends, like your school days, like all of the things that make up who you are in this, as of today.
Yeah.
And then prior to sessions, I have people write a list of questions that they want answered from their higher self. And questions can be about, you know, what's my life purpose? What do I need to learn right now? Why does my knee hurt? Why do I keep getting a sore throat? Why did I have a back issue? Like all it can like there it can be about anything and everything. So and then the hypnosis portion, so hypnotizing, it's such a funny word, and you think like, "I'm gonna cluck like a chicken," all of that, that
Yeah.
magician, whatever. But it truly is like a guided meditation. I am guiding you, and then I'm just asking you to see some things.
Yeah.
And I tell people that seeing means something different to people. Some people don't see visuals. It's
Yeah.
just a sense of knowing, like, I know this is what it is. This is what I'm seeing. Or, and then embracing that and going with it and just embellishing the story.
Yeah.
And your higher self brings you to wherever it is that you need, wherever you need to be met. They're going to
Yeah.
show you what you need to see. So I've had some people over the course of my 4 years fight not seeing or choosing not to see what they see. Like,
Yeah.
I see it. No, that can't be it. No, that, and they'll shut themselves down. And
Yeah.
I always say, just go with it and be curious.
Yeah.
Just be curious. Um, because where you go, and typically people who are like, no, that is way too weird. There's no way. Like,
It
then
kind of
you're not believe it, but I'm on a spaceship. Like, yes, I do
yeah.
believe it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I want to hear all about it.
And that's where I just realized, I talked about that one past life, right? And I think we probably went through maybe four or five,
Yeah.
but I talked about the one that I had here on Earth, which comes to mind. It was kind of like Outlander. And in that time, or when few years ago, prior, I
Yeah.
was watching Outlander and
Yeah.
I was like in love with that show because I was like, I feel like I've lived this. And then
Yeah.
realizing I was like, oh my gosh, because it was around that time I met that guy, right? That was my earth life. But yeah, I had these other lives where it was like I was kind of a blob floating around. Like
Yeah.
maybe I was like, I don't remember those details as much, but like yeah, like on a spaceship where I'm floating around and like just like observing the galaxy and
Yes.
realizing too, like for me being a star seed, it's like my soul isn't from Earth or to reincarnate here. It's from a different system.
Yes.
And realizing that, it's like, oh yeah, like we forget if you're not so open to it and they're shutting it down. Yeah. It's
Because
kind of
it is, maybe it's scary, but the higher self will always keep bringing it back because it's something you need to see and
yeah.
recognize.
Yeah.
So like and also if I'm guiding for somebody and they're like not ready to move on, then I know that there's something there that they need to see yet.
Yeah.
That we have not uncovered every rock. We have not opened every door. There is something here that you need to be aware of and know.
Yeah.
Um,
Gosh, it even comes to mind of like was telling you too, one of my past lives. I know I do remember like being in the dark and it was
yes.
like standstill and I was like, what is this? And like I was kind of joking with you earlier. It was like, oh, it was like I might have been a tree for all I know. But now what comes up for me is like, oh, like that's maybe the void. And I've been going through this like stretched out void sometimes. Like my
Mm,
intuition wants to like drop maybe a little tiny crumb, but it wasn't like how it was. Realizing like, oh, I get to sit with myself and not reject anything and be more open and receptive. I think
yes.
that's where the imagination and like being more childlike, like that
Yes.
neurodivergent side of us, sometimes society tells us like don't just be realistic or be practical when you're like, no, 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 lean into it more.
Absolutely. Lean into the woo woo. And I've had, I mean, my client last weekend said the same thing. Like, I probably made that all up. I'm like, if you made that up, that's fine. But you
Yeah,
know what? What you just made up was so profound and beautiful and gave you so many lessons that then that's amazing. Like,
yeah,
then take that for what it is. Like, yes, I made everything up. But what were the things that you made up? Like,
yeah,
that's so beautiful and amazing.
And what comes to mind too, it's like if they made it up, it's like nothing's really made up because what flows through us, I notice sometimes like it's like, how can you intentionally make something up? Because really it's like you're a channel for
Mm,
that information to flow through. So again,
absolutely.
it goes back into that, like we try to be so neurotypical, is that's the term that kind of comes to mind is being
Yes.
realistic and practical. But yeah, like we can have some great lessons in that. Oh my gosh, this is so weird, but I
Yes.
actually have like great points that have come through in learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And no matter what life, whether you're, a lady in a castle in, the Scottish Isles, or you're a
Yeah.
tree, or you're a frog, or you're a fairy, or a mermaid, like any of those things, there are lessons and beautiful stories, in all of it.
Yeah. It's just fascinating to explore it all. Like
Mhm.
I absolutely love it. Do you have any other like things you want to bring up and make sure people know when it comes to this kind of work?
Um, I think just to be open, just to be open. And I think it's again being, like you had said earlier, being vulnerable with yourself. It's a really hard thing to be like, "Oh my gosh, I was just a rock or I was just a tree," and being vulnerable and being okay with that. And be curious and book a session. I think
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like, yeah, book a session. See what is out there for you. See
Yeah.
what there are, what could be right under the surface
Yeah.
is there to make your life a little bit peaceful, or give you confirmation, give you affirmation, you know.
Yeah. Or even just the curiosity of
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, I'm just naturally a curious person. So I
Mhm.
think that's where if we can have more people in this world being curious, but not about the external world, but more curious about what's coming from within and where we
Yes.
come from, it's such a beautiful gift to invest in that kind of work for oneself. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it just makes us, I think another thing is, if it makes us a better person for us, it's making a better person for our families, our friends, our coworkers. It's making us a better human being
Yeah.
in this world, which is just really hard right now. It is a really hard space to be. And if there's a way that we can have a little bit more patience and love for all of the people that we are navigating this world with, I mean, that in itself is, you know, a gift, a blessing,
Yeah. And
right?
I think going back to like, the sessions might come off as like, oh my gosh, that's so long. But to me, spending the time that we spent, those 5 or 6 hours together, has really been a catalyst to where I've taken my life over the past few years. And I'm still not in a place where I want to be, but it's that reminder of like, I get to build and take the time that I have and knowing that it'll take me to where I'm going. And I think that's such a gift. So,
You're on the road, you're on the path.
yeah. And then as we kind of wrap up, I have a few questions that I just want to share or ask is like, what's something that you're learning about yourself lately?
That's a great question. I am learning about I have 2 kids. One just went off to college. One is a sophomore in high school, and I am learning what that looks like to have kids who can do stuff on their own and don't necessarily need me in a capacity that they have needed me in the past. And what this new relationship looks like for not only me, me and my kids, but for me, and what are my next steps? What am I going to do next?
Yeah.
You have I have spent so many years as a single mom and taking care of these kids. I love them so much. I can't even. And learning that we have a new relationship now. It's like, and I have a new like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? Like, what?
Yeah. It's like your relationship with yourself is changing and you get to strengthen that. But
Yes.
yeah, you're in that transitional, almost not void, but kind of that
Yes.
void of, yeah, letting go a little bit more.
Yeah. Maybe I need a session again. I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
And then my next question is, what's something that makes you feel more grounded when life feels chaotic?
Oh, that's a great question. I need to do yoga on a regular basis. It really gets me centered. I also need to go for, I like to do walking meditations, and I love going to Millennium Park.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorite places to go walk and be.
That is,
And I need to be on that path, walking and being with my tree friends to
Mhm.
remind me that we are all connected. We are all here to love each other regardless of whatever the dialogue is out there, to
yeah,
remind myself, like, we are here to love each other and to build each other up and to be there for each other. Um, but yeah, going for a walk and yoga really
yeah.
helped me to feel a little bit more centered and grounded.
Yeah, I would agree. I've been getting back into more yoga lately because I realize I need my like spine aligned and centered more and being in nature with the energy, just the healing that is there is beautiful. So,
Yes.
and then what is something that you wish more people appreciated about life?
I think I wish more people appreciated that it's not so serious. It is really, it is really not that serious. It is just, we can be lighthearted about our situations, and we can be lighthearted about our relationships. And we don't have to hold on so tight to these ideals. You can let things go. You can drop it like a heavy backpack
Yeah,
and breathe and realize that, it's not that big of a deal. It's
yeah.
really not. And
I love that description, like a heavy backpack, because I envision someone setting it down. And sometimes we have to maybe pick it back up depending on
Mhm.
what we're going through.
Yes.
But we forget about taking those 5 minutes for ourselves.
Mhm.
So I wanted to add that to your,
Yes. I love that. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. You don't need to be lugging it around all the time. Absolutely not.
that we, despite life happening and there's this sense of urgency, that we can have a day where it's maybe not what looks productive. But yeah, letting go and detaching and being like, you know what? I am gonna have a quote unquote lazy day and
And it's
hang out,
okay.
hang out in my jammies. And like, I think we put pressure on ourselves and then realizing like, oh, it really isn't that serious. We're living on a floating rock.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is like the wild thing of that. And I think I know at one point I was like so serious minded of like, oh my gosh, like the world is gonna end and the end is near. But then realizing I'm like, oh, something happened. Like, I go home. This is not my home. Like, I'm not home on earth. Like, I
Right?
get to go home.
I
So
know.
appreciating, yeah, that time here. So
Absolutely. And just reminding ourselves of that. I think that that's a good thing too. I love that. Like, this isn't my home. I don't live here.
but we get to appreciate it. It's like a rental home, we get to
Yes.
go on an Airbnb and appreciate the adventures we're here for, but
Absolutely.
knowing that
Absolutely.
there's more there. Yeah.
Mm.
And then I just want to say thank you for this conversation. I know we could go on forever, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Um, but I just want to make sure that if someone's interested in the work that you do, what is the best way to contact you or to book a session with you, or where can they find you?
So I am listed on the QHHT practitioner site. So if you go to the QHHT site and search for a practitioner, you will find me level 2 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I also practice out of Newaygo, Michigan. I have a little cottage up there that I figured I'm just going to use it up there. And I do have a lot of people that travel from far away, and it just is another location that if then they don't have to drive as far down. So they can also email me at my name, chookzema@gmail.com, and I am very responsive to folks. So, and I would love to have you in and listen to your story and make it all about you all day.
And these are all in-person sessions, correct? I just want to
Absolutely.
yep. So I will at least we'll put the links in the show notes, and then if people have questions for you, I want them to reach out to you, and we can also include maybe Dolores Cannon's work in there
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. We can list a few books
Yeah.
that are super helpful and
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I think that's what helped me understand the work that you do is by like being so engulfed in her work. But I've noticed her work has helped me almost be I get what you're saying about being fascinated with death. When we
Yes.
started our conversation, it's that afterlife. And I've noticed this constant theme in my life is being almost a death doula. I've
Mm.
been there when both my grandparents passed and or my grandfathers and then my family dogs, like it's just
Yes.
different situations and realizing I always come back to Dolores Cannon's work. So, yeah.
That's
I
a beautiful, I'm just gonna just say that too. Like, we could have a whole other conversation about death doula. My
yeah.
sister just got certified in being a death doula,
Oh,
and what a beautiful gift to be able to like escort people to that through that transition. Like, it is a truly beautiful thing.
yeah.
Wonderful for you to experience those things.
And I mean, I will say at the beginning, when I was going through it a few years ago, when it was like my first grandfather had passed, it was traumatic or I didn't know how to process it. And then as time has gone on, it's like, oh, like what a gift that was to experience it because especially here in America, I think we see death as like the end all be all. Like we're, failing at life, but really
Mm.
we all die eventually. So
Yes.
how can we make it so much more of a comfortable process as if someone's giving birth?
Yeah.
We give life into this world. How can we give life out of this world now?
Such a beautiful thing. And I know that I said it in passing to some normies, I don't know, and they
Yeah.
were just like, "Oh, that's really awful." And I'm like, "Okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe it is awful, but" and I understand that death happens not just to elderly people, but to young people. But you know what? Again, we are here for a reason and we exit when we're supposed to.
Yeah, that there's no rhyme or reason when we leave, but our soul will leave when it needs to. And I know Dolores does talk about it. We can talk about this in another session too or
Yep.
another time, but it just comes up of like, when someone's so depressed, let's say, and they're wanting to maybe have that decision to end their life where there's those maybe not consequences, but they're gonna sit with, some consequences on the other side. So that would be the one time where maybe it's not fully, aligned with timing, but there's still always such grace and compassion that our souls give us and that our
Always,
creator gives us that, yeah.
always.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much
Thanks for
for
having me. I
had a
think this
great
has been super fun.
I had so much fun and you'll have to come back on soon and
Yes.
we'll maybe invite your sister on and talk more about the death duel
Would
stuff. So,
love that. Would love that.
thank you so much, Christine, and
Yep.
anytime.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for wandering and weaving with me today. If something stirred in you, let it. You don't need to rush to figure it out, just stay with it. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love if you'd share it, left a 5-star rating, or wrote a review. It helps the message ripple out to others who might need it, and it lets me know what's resonating with you too. If you're feeling the pull to go deeper, everything you need is waiting in the show notes. Until next time, stay with your rhythm, trust your timing, and keep coming home to you.